Thank you all for taking the time out of your very busy evening to listen to my Title I open house presentation. I'm just going to let another person in. It will be about 17 minutes long, and then I will answer any questions. After the presentation, please feel free to unmute your microphones to ask your question. Please keep in mind that this is a public forum. I will be recording this slideshow for families that could not attend. This presentation is designed for an adult audience. If you have any questions about your child's progress, I will happily discuss this with you at a later time by email or phone call. Thank you for muting your microphones. I've prepared this slideshow for you to follow along during this evening presentation. So I'm just going to slide right here. Here we go. The first slide here outlines common questions about the Title I program, such as what is Title I? How are students identified? Okay. What is intervention? How will students receive Title I services? What are student expectations during Google Meets? What materials will students be using? And what can I do at home to help my child learn to read? All right, so let's begin. So what is Title I? Title I is a federal grant that gives districts money based on need. The type of Title I grant we have requires us to select students for academic support. This ensures that the students most in need get Title I help. The Massachusetts Department of Education defines Title I as Part A of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, providing financial assistance to school districts. The goal is to minimize the achievement gap. Okay. So slide number 2, how are students identified? Our school uses the following assessments as part of our selection process. We carefully calculate this data to determine who will receive services. So the first assessment that we use is called DIBELS. It stands for the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. This is a universal screener and is administered to kindergarten through grade 5 students 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. Here, we evaluate students' reading, or how they decode words. For the second assessment, we use a system called Words Their Way Spelling Inventory. With this assessment, we evaluate students' ability to spell or to encode. The third is through teacher observations and feedback, which are calculated on a point system. The administration and I select the students through this process. What is intervention? I know this is a busy looking slide, but basically it's a 3-tier model for reading intervention is shown on the slide. RTI stands for Response to Intervention. As a Title I teacher, my job is to add to the classroom instruction rather than replace the instruction. Our goals are the same, helping students reach grade level standards. RTI can be described in 3 tiers. Number 1 is the largest green section at the bottom of the triangle. This represents classroom instruction. We have best teaching practices, or whole or small groups, core instruction. Tier 2, that's me, that's Title I. Small group setting, individualized attention, individualized instruction. And Tier 3, that represents special education. This is a highly intensive curriculum where a student would qualify to be placed on an IEP, and a student requires specialized teacher training. I am, again, Tier 2. I use scientific research-based programs and intervention reading programs. Data drives my instruction. An essential part of a quality intervention program is monthly progress monitoring. Very briefly, progress monitoring is a scientifically based practice used to assess your child's academic progress and evaluate the effectiveness of the instruction. I use short 60-second tests to evaluate your child's progress in specific reading areas. I tailor my instruction for your child's reading needs. What is the goal of Title I? Students to become efficient, proficient, and meet grade level benchmark criteria. Okay. How will students receive Title I services? Students, as you know, receive instruction remotely through Google Meets this year. I see students 2 or 3 times per week for 30 minutes per lesson, depending upon the student's needs. Please keep in mind, Title I groups are subject to change. This is great news. We want your child's reading intervention group to be a best fit scenario. Students may slide into another advanced group, or they may reach their grade level benchmark and are tested out of Title I services. Students may shift throughout the year. I will communicate immediately any changes, so you will be informed. All right, what are student expectations during Google Meets? This is a good one. I appreciate when families provide a clear workspace during Google Meets, object-free, clear of any distractions. Number 2 is a big one, is background noise. Now, I am a mom, I get it. I understand the challenges, the dog barking, noise, shuffling, I understand, I appreciate. And so do the students in the Google Meet appreciate a quiet learning environment. I highly recommend, if possible, a quiet spot in your house. Your kitchen, living rooms, bedrooms are now the classrooms. On this note, if anyone is interested, at the end of the presentation, I'll be demonstrating a way to block background noise on your technology device. I appreciate when students have their materials ready. There is a 30-minute I have 30 minutes per lesson, which is basically 1 hour a week, to teach layers of critical literacy skills. I'm overjoyed when students arrive promptly to their Google Meet and are prepared. So another important topic I do need to mention is I've been noticing that few students are turning their cameras on and off multiple times during the lesson, or they might turn it off, leave, and then come back. Cameras need to remain on while we are meeting. I need to see and I need to hear the students. This goes without saying if there's a serious situation going on at home. I understand. Bottom line, students need to be fully engaged in each lesson. Okay. So what materials will students be using? So I'm not going to discuss all of these. I'm just going to basically talk about the reading intervention kit that most of you have received or will be receiving, are filled with hands-on learning materials to guide their instruction. Hands-on, that's really important. Such things as syllable charts, journals for dictation and writing, bookmarks with sentence starters to spark reading comprehension discussions, Elkonin boxes to pull apart sounds and words, and morphology index cards. So that's really important. Okay, now the juicy part. We're just about halfway done. So the pillars of early literacy skills. So I'll be very brief. The 5 pillars of literacy identified by the National Reading Panel are phonemic awareness, phonics, reading fluency, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. These are considered crucial components in any literacy instruction program. Okay, so number 1 is phonemic awareness, which is the ability to understand that spoken words are made up of individual sounds called phonemes. And it's one of the best early predictors for early reading success. And so a quick example of phonemic awareness is the word cat has 3 sounds, k, a, t. Okay, so it's just a quick example. The next one is phonics. Phonics is the ability to understand that sound-symbol relationships of letters and the combination of letters make up particular sounds. So for example, Y at the beginning of a word is a consonant. Y can be a vowel at the end of a 1-syllable word, as in the word sky, or Y at the end of a 2-syllable word says E as in happy. And that's basically the bulk of my teaching, is that I'm teaching a lot of phonics skills and strategies. Okay, so older grades base a hefty amount of time dividing multisyllabic words and charting words using the 6-syllable types. Is where most of our instruction is. And so I just wanted to explain that as well. Okay, fluency is the ability to read with proper phrasing and expression. You're reading as if you were talking rather than choppy robotic reading. The next slide is just a little humor and gets a lot of giggles from my students, is just to inject the importance of punctuation. It's definitely a favorite, but as it says, we're going to cook, Mom, versus we're going to cook, Mom. So the power of punctuation with fluency, importance of paying attention to punctuation. And the next one is vocabulary. Vocabulary is an important focus of literacy teaching and refers to the knowledge of words, including their structure, which is morphology, Greek or Latin origins. Students can be taught strategies to segment or manipulate words according to their affixes and roots. So it's just very important to have a nice, rich vocabulary, as you know. And moving on, reading comprehension, which is the last pillar. Comprehension is the ability to understand what you have read, simply, to be able to accurately understand written material. Children need to be able to decode fluently what they read, make connections between what they read and what they already know, background knowledge, and think deeply about what they have read, making connections to the world and around them. Now, I love this slide. Reading in the brain. This is a big part of my passion here. The power of brain-based teaching. A key part of brain-based learning is based on findings from neuroscience research. Knowing that each student learns differently, it's important to use different brain-based learning strategies in one's teaching practice to appeal to a wide variety of learners and their needs. Noticing the slide, intervention is a serious business when you think about it. The growth shown here is remarkable. This is the difference between 10 weeks of instruction. I think that's marvelous. Okay. So we're just about done. What can parents do at home? Well, the answer is have fun, most importantly. Have fun with reading. If you want to, for example, read a recipe about Play-Doh and then make the Play-Doh. Read with a flashlight. Read in a pillow fort. Audiobooks, books on cassette, books on CD, books online. Read, read, read. What excites your child? What do they like to read about? Create their passion. What do they wonder about? What are their interests? Finding books about their favorite topics will just explode their interests and in their reading. And also decreasing the pressure about reading. Children take risks in a low-risk environment, not a high-stakes environment. Positive, meaningful praise. And then the little acronym READ for Read Every Day. The good news is you're probably already supporting your child's reading success at home, right? Discussing picture books, modeling reading yourself, making connections throughout the day. And, remember we read that book, remember we saw different things. Background knowledge helps stimulate neurotransmitters in the brain. And this is a true fact. I was reading from the International Reading Association magazine that they documented that putting the closed caption, the subtitles on while watching TV has made an incredible impact for children learning how to read. You've got to Google it. I thought that was fabulous because by watching TV and putting the closed caption subtitles on, you're helping your son or daughter learn how to read. So throughout the year, I'll be sending home newsletters summarizing reading strategies that have been taught in the small groups, and I will also be sending helpful articles for families. Please know that you can email me, call me if you have any questions or concerns, and that's basically the conclusion of my presentation.